What's up, Grassroots World? I'm Chris Logan.
I'm Ernie Barber.
And we are the Flagrant 2. Coach, what's good, man?
Hey, man, just looking forward to the next couple weeks. We get into the state tournament. 5A, 6A's out, so I'm looking forward to talking about that, recapping the last week. But mostly getting ready and excited to talk about the state tournament.
Yeah, this is what we talked about even last time. This is the best time of year.
Yeah.
There is so much stuff going on, almost too many games for us to talk about in one episode, but we'll have to break it down into a few and try to cover as much of this as we can. Obviously, the 6A East and West, 5A East and West was released today. That's got everybody talking in the basketball world, and I know that's something that we do. So we were even going to do something maybe a little different today on the pod, but we're going to switch it to Audible, and we're going to do an Audible on the move and kind of talk about the bracket matchups and pick who we got in each round, at least that first round.
Yeah, first round.
Because with the new format with double elimination, we'll have no idea who's playing in the second game.
No, that's all hypothetical. We could sit here all day and talk if we wanted to break
and I've
down
already
the brackets.
started that before we got here. I'm looking, if this team loses and loser game 19 plays and this blah, blah, and you keep going on.
Yeah,
and
I'm gonna do my own bracket on my own just to see how I do.
How many you
on
get
my
right?
own. Yeah, I am going to do that. And then some of that we may talk. We'll definitely talk about probably in future episodes here. But tonight just talking about the first round, and then maybe breaking down anything new that's happened over the last week, and then just getting your thoughts. One of the questions I had for you was, players that obviously there's a lot of players that have performed as you would anticipated for the year. Mm-hmm. But my thoughts and my question to you would be, what 3 or 4 players do you see from the beginning of the year that really stuck out and really made a name for themselves during the school ball season?
I know we hit on a couple of them in one of the episodes where I gave the under the 5 radar guys. If I try to stay away from those few guys, because obviously, Tavares Deans from Lawton, I threw him out there, but I would bring him back because of how well he's performed.
Yes.
And I mean, he's a double-double machine. But a kid that we didn't list, and I'm going to go on. I'm going to try to give you some that we didn't list. Yeah. And I think that's Carter Romanos from El Reno.
Definitely agree with that.
I think he's had a monster season, and not just stat-wise, but it's translated to team wins. And I think that El Reno is a legitimate contender in 5A, and I think people that maybe haven't seen them will figure that out real quickly. They're well balanced, guard heavy like a lot of teams in Oklahoma, but Carter is really coming into his own and really is one of the top players right now in the 25 class. Yep. I mean, we know rankings and all that, whatever. We look at what the production is right now on the floor, and Carter's right up there with the best of the best right now in that class, and really any class as far as that in his state.
Yeah, he stood out big time. That's one that I would definitely agree on. It has stood out. Any others that you think of?
I mean, to be honest with you, I could probably give you a list of 50, 60 kids that I think really deserve to go in that mix because of how well they've played all season. I'm just trying to think through my head right now. A kid that I think has played really well, and I haven't heard a lot of people talking about, is Kai Brown at Putnam City North. A kid that, kind of had a lot of steam behind his name when he was a little bit younger, and I feel like maybe it dropped off a little bit, but they just had a senior-laden team last year with C.J. Smith and Xander Baker, and, I think that when those guys, Keywan Payne, I think when those guys graduated, it opened it up for Anthony Leonard and Kai Brown. But Kai Brown has been very good lately. Putnam City North, their record isn't, as good as some of the top teams, but they're a dangerous team. And in the 6A brackets, they are a team that can absolutely upset a top-rated seed in there. Anthony and him are too good to not, and if they're both on, it's scary.
Yeah, that's one of the things I know we're going to hit on throughout the podcast today is where we anticipate upsets going to happen. That's going to be interesting because they are going to happen. We just don't know where.
Oh, absolutely.
The good thing is for all the teams is it's double elimination, so you'll have a chance to redeem yourself and still give yourself a chance to make it to state. So.
And absolutely, and we talked about that, me and you, just even before we came on air. Like that's why people get kind of like, hey, what about the smaller schools? And no slight to them. We love all levels of basketball.
Correct.
But there rarely is upsets in those first couple games in those smaller schools. I mean, there's just so many schools in each class A, B, all the way up even to 4A. There's so many teams that it's very lopsided sometimes in those first couple rounds.
Top heavy,
yeah. That doesn't mean that there can't be an upset.
Sure.
But it's not going to be like 5A and 6A where a top-seeded team could lose the first game.
Much tighter. The level of competition's much tighter.
And you have less teams.
Correct.
I mean, there's just less overall teams, a lot more kids in each of those schools, bigger pool of kids to choose from.
Yep.
Tends to be that the 6A and 5A programs are deeper.
Yep.
That's not to say that 4A, like when we get into Douglas and teams like that. I mean,
there's some exceptions
there are
there.
exceptions to the rule. They're loaded. And then even in 3A and then 2A with Dale, I mean, in Pecola and those teams like that.
Yeah. But it gets less and less as you go down, I would say. It's
absolutely. But, I mean, back to the guys that have performed really well, I think that we've even mentioned him a few times. Jeremiah Johnson from Tulsa Edison would be on my list, like a guy like that.
He's done fantastic, too.
Yeah. I mean, there's kids over at Ida Bell who's not getting a lot of credit. JP Sumo is a senior. He's playing well. Shane Threadgill over there, same thing. And why I even brought them up is the fact that they knocked off Pecola, who was undefeated the other day.
Yep.
That's a great win. Ida Bell's 3A, they're 2A, but still Ida Bell is going to be a team that's going to be a force to be reckoned with.
Pecola is good, too.
Yeah.
Pecola's really good.
With Garrett Scott, we could throw him on the list of guys that are kind of under the radar. Coda Terrell, I just think that with him, it's going to be him getting in front of going against big men in the
spring and summer is going to be critical for him
because obviously he's a D1 talent.
Yeah.
It's going like, can he get into that high major class? He's got a chance. He's just got to perform well against the other bigs because he doesn't see a ton of traditional bigs in that class. So he's over. He out athletes and out physical and everything on a nightly basis to everybody. But his game does translate with as fast and athletic as he is at 6'9".
Yeah.
It has some high major ability. He definitely does. So I think he's primed for a big summer. So we could have him in that mix too. Like I said, I could literally probably give you one kid off of every single team that I feel like could be.
I'll transition. I'll ask this question now. Is there any one or two unsigned seniors that you think you're surprised that they're not signed right by now?
Well, Luke Gray would be number one.
Well, certainly, yeah.
True. I had to start with him, but I know what you're saying. If you're saying guys that maybe don't get quite the attention as someone like him, because we obviously know
Luke Gray's going somewhere.
Yes, and obviously since our last pod, I don't know if that was, but Treshawn Combs Pierce signed with Independence Community College, which huge signing, and also, by the way, we shouted him out at least 5 times on this. Jay Stedman over there at Independence has put on one hell of a recruiting class. Yeah. It's got to be noted because it's all Oklahoma kids, and he got some of the top.
They're gonna turn heads, and those guys are gonna get great opportunities at the next level when they get done.
Keontae Tramble, Cedric Dixon, David Wilson, and him. Sign me up. That's that. Though you can win with those guys at higher levels than that. So that's no joke to what he's building there. And I expect, and I told Coach, I sent him a message like, Okie Ball will be in Independence, Kansas next season. I'm going to watch them. I'm going to check them out.
I agree with that. That's a loaded team, and those guys are all D1 capable players.
Oh,
for sure, right now.
That school was known as Dream U when it was on Netflix, and they might be bringing the Dream U back to Independence, Kansas with that kind of.
It's going to be exciting.
Exciting brand of basketball. But so him signing, that's one off the board. Lou Gray is an obvious guy that we would think, would be in that mix. And then I'm just trying to think down the list of guys that haven't committed yet in that 24 class. Jamon just committed.
Yep.
I think he was going to. Was he Seminole State?
Yep.
He's Seminole State. So Jamon Valentine from Choctaw.
That's a big get for them too.
Yeah, he just signed. I mean, honestly, it's one of those things where, to me, I just pull up my. I mean, I got it always handy if I don't have it. I'll tell you who. Cabron out in Nathan Hale would be a kid. If I'm looking at the list, he's a top 10 talent. Mm-hmm. He's probably one of the last few that hasn't, committed. Bryce Potts got offers from SWASU, has some offers outside of that. I don't know if UCO's offered him. I don't know.
The spring signing, is it in April?
Yeah.
I was going to say they're probably going to. I bet you see a wave of signings come here probably. In the next,
I mean, there's quite. I mean, to be honest with you, there's quite a bit of kids. Carter Benton hasn't signed out of Holland Hall.
Yep,
he's another.
What offers does Carter have? What does he have?
Carter has. I don't. Honestly, I don't know that he has a D2 yet in state.
Wow,
which is surprising.
Yeah.
It's really surprising. I mean, maybe he's going to be in one of those kids we talk about, the academic D3 kids. I mean, maybe,
he's 6'3", right?
He might even be 6'4".
Okay. Yeah, that opens up a lot of options for him.
It opens up options for him. He's definitely one that I would expect to have his school picked out pretty soon. This is an interesting one because we talked about him moving from Westmore to Del City. Michael Graham Jr. Was committed to play football at Houston, but he's not anymore. So I've heard he might be open to playing some JUCO basketball. That would be a get. Michael Graham can play. I mean, he's a heck of a basketball player.
I remember watching him, and when I saw him move on the basketball court, I thought, man, he's a defensive back deluxe. I mean, the kid moves. He's
him. I would probably throw out another one that I think is probably the top up there that would be top kids is Dalen Fuller at Union.
Oh,
we talked about him. I mean, but those are kids to me that are unsigned that have super bright futures and high upsides. Yep. Quincy Hopkins at Carl Albert is another, go on and on and on. Braden Lloyd, I could keep going. Like these guys, there's a ton of college level guys out there. They're just looking for the right home and the right fit, and it all has to work out. You remember, and this is what people don't understand when it comes to recruitment, a lot of these schools, they're not offering full rides.
Correct.
So it's Pell Grants, it's Oklahoma Promise. Yep. If you don't qualify for that, it actually puts a big limitation on you.
Yep.
Parents and players don't always know that.
Yep.
And it's not always taught from their high school coach. And those are things that are very important to them. Like if they're able to get FAFSA or which is financial aid, if they're able to get the Oklahoma Promise or any kind of Pels, and they know that, is like if they check that prior and let these schools know, they've just broadened their recruitment immensely.
Absolutely.
There's a school that will absolutely pick one kid A over here that has that over kid B who might be a little better and doesn't. Because it's always a numbers game.
Correct. It's a numbers game. I know, it's also if you have a very good GPA and you have the ability to get a 28 or over on your
get
ACT,
academic money.
You get academic money on top of it. So you've got the Pell Grants, you've got all that assistance as well.
Yep.
But then on the other side, you've got the academic money that kicks in there too.
Yeah, because everybody thinks like when they see these kids putting off these committed and this, that, and the other, they're like, oh, he got a full ride. But what they don't realize is there's very few full rides in anything lower than a Division I.
Correct.
Now, at a Division I, yes, it's a full ride.
If you sign with a D1 school, unless it's a walk-on or preferred walk-on,
it's a full ride.
It's a full ride.
Everything included.
That's why everybody always,
included.
Not only the level, but everybody wants the D1 opportunity because it's a full ride. So
yes, exactly, and that's why everybody wants that. Other than also the accolades of saying you're D1, it has a good ring to it for most kids.
Yeah, the ego side of it too.
Exactly, but what they need to know is from D2 and lower. Most of the time, it could be books and tuition.
Yep.
Some of them have some room and board involved. Some of them have some things. Mm-hmm. But for the most part, full rides at that level and below are all saved for D1 bounce backs.
Correct.
So that's what these schools are now waiting for in that transfer portal. They can pick up a high school kid that has financial aid, they're going after him first.
Yep.
And then they're going to go after these guys that have already spent some years in JUCO for 2 years,
Yep.
and they're moving on to a 4-year program.
I'd add this too. You're absolutely right on all that. Is that the other reason why you get the bounce backs? Because there's a couple of reasons. One, if they're higher level.
Yeah.
One. Two, they've probably demonstrated that they can play at a certain level and they can go to school and get the grades.
I was going to say that's probably even more of it than it is on court, is the off the court stuff.
I don't have issues with them. They carry a 3.5 or you know something above a 3.
Yeah.
Hey, they know they can get the grades that we need. They don't have to worry about eligibility.
Yeah.
And they've competed in practice and played some in games at a higher level. Yeah, we're going to take that over a kid, over an 18-year-old.
Yeah,
that hasn't shown any of those things. Yeah, you might have a good GPA in high school, but college is a different level than high school. You don't have anybody there. You've got to manage that. You're away from home.
Yeah,
and not only that, you'll be traveling.
Bingo. I think that's it right there.
You're traveling, and I'm dealing with it now. Is that you're traveling, and you know what? Hey, Wednesday through Saturday, you might be gone, and you don't have help getting that work done, and it has to be done by certain times, and online, and nobody's looking over your shoulder. Nobody's. Yeah. I mean, coaches do check up on you. Don't get me wrong; they're very, very regimented on that. But you have to do the work, and sometimes you don't always have the support system you've had in the past. So
no, and I think that's exactly what when you're talking about why they would take a 20-year-old that's been experienced versus an 18-year-old is that 18-year-old has never lived with outside of their parents' house.
Correct.
And also, depending on how far the campus is from home, that even adds another element. Like you may not see your family very often. So they're betting that they hope that you'll survive in that setting, as where some of these guys have already maybe they have a redshirt year and spent 2 years.
Correct.
They've already proven that they can live on their own and handle the day-to-day scheduling and all that.
Go to practice, hit the weight room. Their bodies are developed for those 2 or 3 years, whereas, sometimes high school kids, they're still got development. Heck, some of them are still growing. They may grow an inch after they get out of high school.
Yeah,
I did.
And mentally and physically they're growing. So much goes into it, and to be honest, I think we can and will have episodes devoted to strictly talking about what we're talking about right here. But as this podcast does, sometimes we just go down a road and we talk, and we love it. And I think that the people at home will understand, and they will see the value in what we're talking about, because I don't believe that stuff is talked about nearly enough.
No, and I think that really and truly, that is the really what we're doing is all about.
Yes.
One, we're trying to bring exposure to the Oklahoma kids.
Yes.
Talk about the teams, talk about strengths, talk about what they bring to the table, individual and as a team. But hey, parents, these are the things you got to think about, and kids you got to think about. And you hear it all the time on social media when you get an offer. Hey, you need to be serious, because you may not get a bunch.
Well,
right?
I know,
so.
and I think it's like we talked about on one of the episodes. Information is important, but where it comes from matters. Is there people out there that could be more qualified? I'm sure there is. There's always more people that are qualified.
Sure.
But and what I've done is be in some form involved in this game for over 30 plus years. I know yours is even longer than that. So it's like we have knowledge from whether it's been playing, coaching, parents in sports, we've been there all, scouting, building a program. Like, we have a lot of knowledge in this, and then having a lot of connections with college coaches and stuff. We've heard every story known to man. So I feel like it's great information to give from a point of view where, we're no longer speaking about. We talk about maybe our kids or something like that here and there, but we don't have any kids that are playing in the high school sports. So we can just give you knowledge of what we think is the best, and then it's up to you, like always. It's up to the parent, the kid, whatever, coach, to figure out where they're going to put them on that path and what ultimately is the right path for them.
The other thing, too, is that, and I would say I'm going through this, is you learn as you go, too. And I think that's always a part of it. You're going to have some of that. You got to just go with your gut and what you think works best. But asking the questions, and I would say this too, and I'll extend this for both of us. If anybody out there has questions on what we think specifically, DM us, reach out to us. We'll give our feedback. We want to. I'll speak for myself on this. I can give you feedback specific to situations, and you can digest that and do what you want and what you think is best for your son or daughter. But certainly, by all means, reach out. I'm an open book.
And on that note, like particularly what you're talking about, I believe that I may try to dabble into some of that stuff on a different level,
I know
personally.
Exactly. Yep.
Like maybe one-on-one stuff. I may try to do some things like that. With me, it's all about helping as many as I can, but it has to be realistic as to you cannot help everybody.
True.
And not everybody's going to listen anyways, as we know in life. It is trial and error. So I know we've gotten off more onto the recruiting point of this, but I do know that that's information that everybody wants. You can
Absolutely.
You can never
have
give
enough.
No, you can never give too much of that, and there's definitely a fair share of people that need to hear that because they just don't know enough about it, especially if it's their first kid that's going through the process. They may not know anything about it. So I would just say, back from that, since our last pod, the only game that I was able to attend in person since then was last Thursday, and that was Douglas versus Dynamic Prep, the number 9 school in the whole country.
Yeah.
And that definitely lived up to the calling. Yeah. Excellent game.
Yeah, I got your updates. And
excellent game. Yeah, no doubt. I was trying to keep, because that, for some reason, they didn't have it on stream. So I'm guessing nobody watched it unless you were in the building. And, you're talking about a team full of all Division I high-level guys on a team, but Douglas is no slouch, and anybody that thought they were just going to come in there and steamroll Douglas hadn't watched Douglas.
Oklahoma basketball and Douglas specifically, these are top-notch programs.
Yeah.
I don't care who they play, they're going to go. We know certain schools that in Oklahoma that are going to compete, and outside of the state, Douglas certainly is one of those. We've seen some others as well.
Yeah.
And all the Oklahoma schools have done nothing but bring shine to the state. So kudos to Douglas for playing. It was a tough loss, but it was at the very end. It could have went either way.
I mean, they lost at the buzzer, essentially.
Exactly.
The kid hit a shot with 9 seconds left, and then they called some kind of, I don't know if they called like an errant timeout or something, and they called a technical. I think that they said that they called a timeout, but they didn't. No one else saw. It was something like that. To be honest with you, I was so caught up in the moment of everything going on. I was a little lost on what happened. And next thing you know, they're shooting free throws again.
It was exciting for sure.
Definitely an exciting game. And just to recap it a little bit, I think when Landry Ballard he played at a really high level in that game. He was attacking their bigs.
He's their leader.
Yes, and he I always call him, he's the best kid at floaters in Oklahoma. Like he has a left and a right-handed floater, and with his explosiveness and size, like you have to be able to get that off, especially against a guy like Jaden Toombs, who they had on the other side, who's 6'9", 6'10", top 30 kid in the country in the 25 class. So that was a way to finish over. He was immense in that game, and then Deshaun Ransom, the 6'5" forward that they have, was so good with putbacks and just doing some of the tough, dirty work down low.
Yeah.
They were undersized, but what they did is, why we talked about, they applied pressure nonstop, and they made those bigs for Dynamic Prep run that whole game. Yeah. And that's how you match up. Jaden Nickens was special. Devon Scott was really good in that game. So, I mean,
they raise their level of play. I mean, to the competition. That shows a lot to me as a college
to almost beat a
recruiting.
top 10 team in the country, and you're a public school. That's impressive. I don't care which way you slice it. On the other side, when people in Oklahoma are looking at that coaching staff, and you got Jermaine O'Neal and Al Harrington on the bench, it's like people in Oklahoma are like, a lot of people didn't know Al Harrington was even coaching on them. I actually didn't know he was down in the DFW area right now either, but that's pretty cool for them. Jermaine O'Neal has built a hell of a program down there. I mean, quickly.
Both previous Indiana Pacers, along with a multitude of other teams after that.
Yes, very, very high-level players at that, So, but a couple of their kids, Jermaine O'Neal Jr. was excellent in that game. And unlike his dad, he's not a true big. He's a wing. He's about a 6'5" wing, real explosive, bouncy. With him, I think the better he becomes from the perimeter, he's going to be something special, because as far as slashing and attacking the back, like it's attacking, and some of his finishes off one leg, and he's high level when it comes to that. Creative, second jump, gets putbacks. He's really good when he puts the total package together and really starts firing.
And he'll have all those opportunities to do that.
Oh yeah, he's going to be special. Yeah. I like him a lot. They had a couple kids. Leroy Leroy Kelly is a really highly recruited kid, 4-star. Kid out of Texas, really good. Leon Horner, who hit the game winner, is a 6'6" kid.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the thing that Texas has is like they've got 6'6" guards left and right. I mean, it's the size.
Yeah.
The skill set sometimes is the same as what we have in Oklahoma.
Positional size.
Positional size.
Yeah.
A 6'6" guard in Oklahoma that was like him would be rated probably the #1 player in the state.
Yeah.
So it's like, and he's like a 3-star, which, he could probably go up. Texas Tech is heavy in on him, and hopefully he ends up getting to go there.
Yeah.
But, I mean, they were star-studded, but it was a great matchup between the two schools. And, I see people talking about, like, why are we talking about kids from – because reality is we're about kids.
Yeah.
I don't care where they live or where they go. My job is to be a scout.
Yeah.
My job is to point out anybody that's good and give them notoriety to college coaches.
Correct.
I don't care where the boundaries lie. Yeah. If I could cover every single city in the United States, I would if it was possible.
Yeah.
It's just, so I'm always going to cover kids. I don't care where they're from or what team they play for. If I'm able to put my eyes on them,
they're good.
If they're good, they're good, and that's our job.
Exactly.
So it's like I don't understand why people get on that mess. It's like if you're really about the kids, why are you even talking about why kids are getting talked about? It's just crazy to me.
Yeah.
But anyways, so that was the only game I attended in person. I know yesterday we had a bunch of games. Anything that stood out to you?
One that stood out to me big time was Piedmont scoring 21 points in the game.
Yeah, that's crazy.
I literally
That's
I'm
crazy.
speechless over that. That one was a shock to me. Started out the season fantastic. Not saying that they're not still a good team because they certainly are. Got good players. But that was a shock to me. Of all the games, I wanted to see. Because I've been kind of keeping track on District 2 because I wanted to see how it played out because it was so dynamic in terms of what it was 2 weeks ago and then where it is today.
Yes.
And seeing how some teams move up. Lawton obviously has moved up. Norman has established themselves as the #1 team.
And what they end with, winning 13, 14 in a row?
Yeah, they're
something
18
like
and
that.
4.
So they won 13 games.
Yeah,
I think they won 15 out of 17 games.
Yeah, exactly. They were just above 500 early in the year and then just went boop.
Yeah.
Just separated themselves completely.
Yeah,
so,
Coach Cole, I'm sorry, but I don't know if we can call you guys a sleeper anymore.
No. You're not a sleeper anymore, Coach. You are squarely in the driver's seat, and we're going to go ahead. And you'll notice that when we go down through the brackets, too.
Shout out to my guy, Coach Cole.
He does a fantastic
great
job.
Dude, too. Great guy. Dude, all about his kids. So.
Does everything the right way. Always has, always does, and always will. So he's
13, 14 in a row at the 6A level is not easy to do.
Oh, I know.
I don't care who
I would
it is.
say Moore as well. Obviously, shout out to Moore and their group.
Yeah, and we hit on them last week, but they are playing really well.
Yep.
And we talk about it. I mean, I think I mentioned it every episode. Confidence and momentum.
Yep.
I mean, what better way to be heading into the playoffs than on a high? On a high like those two are.
I would say so, and I would say this too. I watched the Westmore PC West game last night. Really tight game. I knew it was going to be tight. Style of play very similar. Rayfield was the difference maker in that game. He just was. They played well. They got the win at Westmore.
Yeah.
So, Westmore was, like we said, 2.5 weeks ago now. Yeah. Maybe 3 weeks ago now.
Yeah.
Were #1 in the district and then moved all the way down. And now I believe they're depending on, I'm going off district points, they went from 1st to 5th.
Yeah, and Santa Fe's up at 2 now, right?
So Santa Fe's up at 2.
Lawton was at 3 or 4. So they're hosting a game, the first game. They'll be all hosting those.
Yep. So Norman is hosting for that district. And you know what? We might as well jump down into it. So that's what I watched. I watched that game. Really tight
we can jump
game.
into the 6A.
Yeah, just jump right into
6A West.
Yeah, 6A West. Yeah.
Let's do that. I'm pulling it up now. I know I posted it on
so
Twitter for everybody.
I've got Edmond North
Instagram.
and Eisenhower. I think, hey, Eisenhower, best of luck to you, but I'm not going to go with you in that first round. I'm going to strongly go with Edmond North.
Yeah.
And honestly, I'm going with Edmond North probably to win it all, but we'll go through the process here.
So you said Edmond North, Eisenhower. We're both in agreement. We both take Edmond North in that game.
Absolutely, every time.
Next game is a good matchup for a first rounder.
I'm
PC West Mustang.
I'm going to go with PC West, and only reason I say this, that Mustang is extremely talented. Pogai and Miller.
Yeah.
What I watched at PC West yesterday is getting a tough win away from home in a big time game. It depends on seeding, right?
Yeah.
I mean, that was a tough win. We've been saying it all year, and you've said it all year with PC West. They're just tough. They're grinders.
Any team that's led by Jordan Warrior at point guard is going to be tough as nails. That's just Jordan Warrior. But also, they have an emergence of a freshman in Mari Gilstrap has been playing out of his mind lately, and we got to give him credit where credit is due. He's helped them immensely right now. When Jaden Constance left to go to Grind Prep, he stepped up, and as a freshman that many might have had in their top list, he's played as well as any of them.
I have them in. Ironically, I have them playing better now than they did early in the season.
Yeah, no doubt.
And I mean, and you're talking with some of those guys leaving and these other guys stepping up.
You're taking PC West?
I'm taking PC West in that one.
And I'm taking Mustang. I think that with what I've seen from Roman Miller,
he's played good basketball.
And I know last night he played really well, and I know Coach Boynton was in the house and watching, but I know that Po Guy is going to get a lot of attention when you're the number one kid in your class. Po Guy is going to get a lot of attention, and he had a little bit of an off shooting night last night, but I expect that not to be the case when playoffs come around. I expect Po Guy to step up.
You play, and good players like that, they play 10 games. They might have 1 or 2 games where they're a little bit off, but most of the time, 7 or 8 out of those games, if you're a good player, and he certainly is, he's gonna play well.
I think that Ray Field will have his way in that matchup, obviously, because Mustang doesn't have too much size.
Correct.
But I just think that there's too much firepower on the perimeter for Mustang.
It's all style of play.
Yeah, it is. And realistically, what it comes down to is if Po Guy and
Warrior.
Or no, Po Guy, well, that's going to be a heck of a matchup.
That's what I'm going for.
First of all, that's a great matchup. But what I was going to say is if Roman and Tyson are on at the same time,
you're in trouble.
That's why I'm picking Mustang, because I feel like they are going to do that.
It's going to be a great game. I think either way, it's going to be a nail biter. That honestly, when I look at the first round matchups, that might be one of the very best games.
Oh, absolutely.
To watch.
I think that may. There's going to be a few more, but that may be the one that I'm kind of intrigued by the most, and I may have to go to that game.
Me too.
Next Thursday at Edmond North. So we'll see.
Northwest Classen.
That's an intriguing game.
That's an intriguing
game. Moore coming off. We talked about is playing as well as anyone in the state.
Northwest could have an upset there. That could be your upset.
Yes, and that's why. When people say, like, why do you talk about 6As, playoff matchup wise, these are teams that either one can go either way.
Yeah.
You're going to say I favor Moore because of how well they've played, but Classen has the guys to do it, and that Northwest Classen team has got some experience under their belt in the playoffs. So I mean, I'm going to take Moore just because they're playing
too, but that's the one I say if there's going to be an upset.
Yeah.
And the reason I say this is Moore has been playing outstanding basketball.
Yeah.
But when you play outstanding basketball, you win so many games in a row.
Yeah.
You're just waiting for the fall at one point. All it takes is a bad night. It takes a bad night from one of the guys in Moore, and you know what? One of their leaders to have an off night, and Northwest Classen pulls the win. Yeah,
I could see the seniors at Classen in Northwest Classen and Leon and Leslie Rose and Kemar Cyrus, they will have to step up, and obviously Davis Jr. and Brandon Butler, who's very good.
Yep.
But those two seniors are not going to want to go out like that, and I feel like if they could be the difference maker, obviously, in that game if there is to be an upset. But I'd have to take Moore right at the way they're playing now.
I just see Hankins just as a matchup, and obviously you mentioned some of the other players last week. I just see them as being a tough.
Well, yeah, and we got to say it here is that no matter what happens in these first rounds, these teams are getting another game out of this.
Correct.
We don't know what. I mean, we could, like you said earlier, we could go into that and take hours of who could play who. So we're just going to go through the first. This next game is intriguing to me. Yep. This is why the 6A matchups are so, and the 5A is going to be like that too. Not that there's not any good ones in 4A, 3A, 2A, A, B. I don't want we don't need to hear from everybody. We get it. These are just matchups that have a higher percentage of an underdog winning.
Well, and the other part of it too, and I 100% agree with that. The other part of it is we do this podcast for about an hour.
Yeah.
And it fits into the hour. We have page after page after page of first round in some of these smaller classes that we could. I don't know that we could get
so
through.
many schools.
Yeah.
You'd have to have a whole episode just on each. Like Class A would have to have its own.
Yes.
There's so many schools inside of that.
And even then, it would be a long episode.
No, and we will get into those schools as they probably get a little further into the playoffs. It'll be easier then to kind of.
So your day is coming.
Yes, it's coming. So Lawton, PC North, who you got?
Lawton. Talent-wise, I just, and it's at Lawton. Them playing at home.
It's going to be rowdy.
It's going to be really rowdy, and I just feel like Lawton's playing really good basketball, and that talent is starting to gel. And they started climbing up in District 2. I just feel like they're probably.
And it's crazy how that works too. What Moore finishes a season winning 11? What do they win? Like 11 games in a row,
12,
and they don't even get to host a game.
Correct.
That's tough.
Yeah,
that's tough. And so the thing about PC North, and I just mentioned it when talking about players that are kind of under the radar, and Kai Brown and Anthony Leonard is when Kai Brown and Anthony Leonard are on together.
Yeah.
It's like Roman and Tyson. They single-handedly, the two of them as a duo can beat you.
Yeah, I've been watching those kids since they were knee highs.
Yeah,
and they're tough kids for sure. So,
I mean, I love Anthony Leonard, and I love both those kids. And then they got the freshman Mekhi Thomas. They got some guys like they can absolutely. If they won that game, I wouldn't be surprised.
No, it would. I mean,
I almost feel like I could say that with most of these games until you get to the lopsided ones where it's really lopsided.
Yep.
I mean, I feel like I could say if the bottom team wins, it wouldn't shock me. I'm going to also go with Lawton. I think that's Tavares Deans, Panay Vazagode, Madden Padilla.
They're just
Anthony
all around.
Patrick,
They're
Davion Young. I just think they're deeper. They're a deeper team.
Lawton is a team that I think some things go their way.
Yeah,
could get into state. It's very possible.
But shout out to my guy Anthony Leonard. Go prove me wrong, Anthony.
Yeah.
Go do your thing.
That's true.
Because that kid, I'm telling you, he's just explosive.
You don't need to
drop 40 points on you.
You don't need to sell me. I've watched the kid kill us for many years.
Shout out to Ant. But okay. So we both are in agreement on that one. We both have Moore and PC North advancing there. Next, Norman Capitol Hill. Norman. I mean, Norman is just. I'm not even going to care who the bottom team was there. I probably was taking Norman over almost anybody.
Yeah.
With how well they're playing and how they've all bought in and the depth that they've built. Because that was a thing me and you talked about.
Yep.
You were high on them. I was high on them. But you were really high on them in the preseason.
Yep.
Is that we were a little concerned on their depth.
Yep.
And that has proved to not be a problem. They have guys.
Some guys have stepped up and taken on roles that help them win. And that's why that's where the coaching comes in. And Coach Cole's done a fantastic job of getting these guys to buy in.
Yeah.
And you know what I love about what Coach Cole's done too? The guys from last year's team, and other schools do this. The good coaches and the good coaching staffs, they bring in those other players that have been in the program. Yeah. And those guys come back to watch games and to participate and cheer on the guys. Coach Cole's done a great job of that. And Norman has got those guys to step up, and now those guys are contributing, and that's why they're winning basketball games.
Yeah, B.J. Randall's been great. Isaiah Amos, Bo Billingsley, but Sean Combs Pierce, and I don't know. I'm going to say this now that I think at his size and skill set, he has the potential down the line to end up maybe being maybe the best prospect out of this 24 class.
100% agree.
Now, I don't know if that's an unpopular opinion or crazy statement, but I see what I see, and I see what could translate. Now, things got to go.
Yeah.
He got to go to JUCO
Long
route.
Way to go. There's plenty of things.
I'm saying down the line, I wouldn't be shocked if you hear that name in a couple years, in 2 years or whatever, and he's at some big-time
D1. And we're watching him on ESPN playing basketball on Saturdays.
And you're saying, man, Okie Ball had his crystal ball out there 2 years ago.
Right firmly here. You heard it here first on the Flagrant 2,
yeah,
right?
Exactly. So
no, I completely agree with that. When you look at all the things that he possesses, size, athleticism, agility, ball skills, you name it.
Yeah.
And then the ability to, and this is the thing that I think is so important is that the relationship with having a coach that teaches you the right things.
Yeah.
That translates when he goes to the next level. He's used to having a strong coach that teaches him the right way. And then when he goes to Independence next year, he's just going to step right in.
Yeah.
Right? He's not only going to be a super talented player, but he's going to be able to be coached.
Yes.
He's gonna work hard. He's gonna do well in school. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
He does all those things, and that all like you talked about earlier, that translates, and then the D1 coaches are going to see that and go,
yeah,
I've got little to no risk with this guy.
Yeah.
He's going to step in. He's got the body, the D1 body. He does the work. He can perform in the classroom. He's coachable. I mean, what else can you not want from that?
No, absolutely. So, I mean, and that's no slight on some of these other guys that are in the 24 class. Because we have so many guys in that 24 class that left the state. So it's like we start counting those guys. It kind of changes. But obviously,
the one that's still here.
I mean, and Dayton might do, could be a special player at Oklahoma too. But I'm looking at size, skill set, and then projecting him out in a few years.
His projection is higher than anybody else's because he's got you can't teach, 6'7", 6'8" an athletic.
Yeah.
You can't teach that. That's God-given.
Yeah.
And it's nothing to say against other kids that aren't that aren't 6'7", 6'8".
Yeah.
You may have the skill set and all the abilities, but you're not 6'7" or 6'8". And when you get the higher you get, that checks more boxes.
Yeah, Combs Pierce has high major size and athleticism.
Yep.
I think it's just continuing to fine tune his game and
work on his skills.
And he's at a perfect school. We talked about Coach Stedman has been at every level.
Yep.
G League stuff in the NBA,
connected
Division
there.
I,
It
Division
all matters.
every level. So he's going to know what it looks like and what it will take for him to get to that ultimate goal is possibly one day playing at a high major school. Absolutely think Trey Combs Pierce can do that, and I'm looking forward to the journey, and we'll definitely be following along.
We said it here first on the Flagrant 2.
Yep. So Norman over Capitol Hill, we got that down. Next game is an intriguing one.
Yes.
Piedmont Westmore. That's kind of a toss-up, isn't it?
This is a toss-up. I was sitting here going back and forth with some people earlier today on the first round, and man, this is a flip a coin. I mean, but here's the thing. Going back to what I said earlier in the podcast, Piedmont scoring 21 points against Edmond North. I know it's Edmond North, but it's 21 points.
Yeah.
I can't even find the words to describe that. Going into the state playoffs, that concerns me.
I mean, the only thing I'll say is Edmond North was pissed off.
Oh, yeah.
They're pissed off.
Yeah, after they lost to Moore by 19.
They're pissed.
So you and I talked about that, too. We felt bad for who came in next.
We said it on the last podcast. Whoever's their next opponent, sorry for you.
I just thought 21 points, I thought, oh, Lord, Piedmont's been playing good basketball, competitive basketball all year. Even if they got beat, they were competitive in the game, may have even been winning in that game, and the other team stole it from them. So
I think early on in the season, we probably would have picked Piedmont easily in that, as far as the way they were playing.
Piedmont, I would have picked, there only would have been a couple of teams, a small handful of teams that I would have picked to beat them early in the season because they were just, I know Coach Brandon has them drilled pretty well, and he does a fantastic job coaching. So
who you got?
Man,
who you got? Piedmont Westmore.
Oh man, this is the toughest one because I've got ties to Westmore. Obviously, Coach Milwee. Coach Milwee's an outstanding human being and does a good job and has brought that program up from where it was when he got it. I'm going to go with Piedmont, but that's a flip of a coin. If Westmore wins, I'm happy for Coach Milwee.
And I'll just play devil's advocate. I'll take Westmore. Yeah. I think that I'm going to go that the Loper twins and the older Gavin, I think that they're going to hit a bunch of shots, and I think that they're going to, With that said, it's not it's not single elimination anymore, so everybody gets another chance.
That one you literally could flip a coin. I think that's probably the closest matchup. I mean, we've talked about the other ones up there, and those are good close matchups.
Yeah,
I see Piedmont and Westmore being an absolute Fantastic matchup. So those that are looking for great first-round matchups, Piedmont Westmore at 7:30 on Norman. What's the days that they're doing this?
Thursdays.
Yep.
Thursdays, and then it'll be Thursday, Fridays next week.
Thursday, February 22nd at 7:30 at Norman.
Yeah, so I do like that Piedmont team with Walker Kennedy, Braden Lloyd. I think they've got
a lot of good shooters on that team.
Yes, Hudson Hyde, Hayes White. I like that team, but I just feel like Westmore to me has a quicker ability to just get on fire, and I think that they've got some different. I think the versatility of Ivan Antoine Doncourt. I think that the emergence of him and some of the defensive stuff he can do. I think that he'll play a part in that, but I just look for Westmore to get kind of hot in that one and maybe put that one away.
I'll say going to style of play, and I know Brandon's probably thinking this. You slow the game down, you control the pace of the game. Piedmont shoots well, moves the basketball, moves without the ball. Piedmont wins that game. If that game gets into transition in Piedmont, Ivan will be a difference maker in that one. In half courts, he'll be able to block shots and be an athlete. And then the Westmore is a transition team. They like to get the ball out. You miss a shot, you take bad shots, long rebounds. They're gonna kick it out and they're gonna score layups. So
I just think that's going to be that'll be a great matchup to watch. To be honest with you. So we've got the opposite there. I'm going to have to. After we're done, I'm going to have to highlight these so we remember who I picked and who you picked, and we'll have to circle them or whatever. We'll put our brackets out. I need to print these out on paper, old school style, like a March Madness.
Fun, man. That's fun.
Some sort of March Madness pool we need to set up or something like that.
We do a flagrant 2 pool.
Yeah. Hey, maybe we'll set one of those. Maybe we'll set one of those up on ESPN.
Yeah, there you go.
We figured out how do we change out the teams and take the college teams out for March Madness,
wins, and then we give them shout outs. So we get them on. Then we have them on as a guest on the podcast.
Figure something out like that. But okay, next one. And this is another one. I think this is another one. It's Edmond Santa Fe versus Norman North. This is a battle of 2 coaches that are from the team Griffin and Troy Lolliman and Kellen McCoy. So 2 guys that know each other quite well.
Playing chess.
Yeah, they know each other quite well, and they're going to know exactly what the other one's probably going to do.
Yep.
I do not see this as a high-scoring game.
No.
Knowing both those guys and seeing, I'm expecting this to be a defensive slugfest. Santa Fe has had the better season, no doubt about it.
Yeah, this one can go either way too.
I'm going Edmond Santa Fe.
I'm doing the same. I think this game is definitely within probably 6 points.
Yeah.
And if I take the over-under, I'm guessing they're not going to be much over, probably about 80, high 80s.
Yeah.
Total.
The thing I want to see in that game is I want to see Hezekiah Green take that next step, because I think he's a kid to me, and when I gave my top 5 in the state underrated, he was one of them. I just think he could blow up, and he's going to have to in that game. And I love Noah Jones, the point guard. I think he's going to prevent. He's going to give some mismatch problems to the undersized guards at Santa Fe. And defensively, he's really good. So that might cause a problem for guys like Nick Rhodes and some of their guards that they have, but. Overall, I think Santa Fe's just played more as a unit, and I think that they're probably playing a little bit better right now.
Yeah, I would agree with that.
And I'll favor the Santa Fe Wolves.
I'll give Santa Fe as well. I would just say this, is that whoever, and when I say high 80s, that's combined points from both teams, right? So the over-under.
I would take the under.
Yeah,
I would.
I would take the under too, probably.
I would. Just knowing those guys and how they're going to match up, and they'll do it by game, but I definitely think that. So we both got Santa Fe in that, but wouldn't be a shocker. Norman North does got a big guy. They've got some size over Santa Fe. So there's some things that they present mismatch-wise for them, but I'm going to go Santa Fe in that one. Next one, UConn, Deer Creek. I'm going Deer Creek.
Deer Creek. Now, I want to say this. Deer Creek has this propensity at times, and you and I were at a game earlier this year watching them together.
Yeah.
That if they're not motivated, they can play some ugly basketball at times.
Yeah.
But they can also play some of the most exciting, unbelievable basketball at the same time. Sometimes you don't know what you're going to get. And so Deer Creek, if you're listening out there, players out there, they got extremely talented players. We've been talking about you guys since the beginning of the podcast. We're picking you, but don't take anything lightly, because UConn has some players on that squad that can absolutely punch you in the face. And I'll start with the little point guard there. He is lightning in a bottle.
Oh, Dylan Snow.
Dylan Snow is, to me, he's a stud.
Yeah.
He's just he can take over a game by himself. He's undersized, but I mean, he can flat out get in the paint. He can shoot from anywhere.
Yeah.
He's got next level skills. He's tough. He's smart. He does everything. I mean, you have.
You
him
don't back down.
No.
That's what I like about him. That's what I like about him the most.
Yes.
He's dynamite in a smaller package. Like that kid don't back down from nobody. He's not scared of nobody.
No, he's just a player, and I mean, he's a winner. I know UConn has struggled this year, but it's not because he can hurt you. And so,
I just think Deer Creek is too deep.
Yeah,
I think
I
the
agree.
depth. Sometimes in high school, depth is where you're going to go. Like,
I mean,
okay,
my thing is even if Dylan has an outstanding game, which he's very likely to do, because he's not going to go down lightly. Deer Creek's just too deep.
Yeah, that's why
they can throw a lot of guys at Dylan or anybody that they have in their roster, and it's.
I think that's the case. So now we're jumping into 6A East.
Yep.
All right, let's go right off the bat. Owasso, Ponca City.
I'm going Owasso.
Yeah. Owasso, district champs. They won the district last night. They won it by points too.
Correct. I saw that.
Which I guess is it by the margin that they won by?
Yeah, I think it has to do with the margin they won by, and I think
so. They got to play like. Who was it that they played? U.S. Grand or Capital? And they smoked them.
But
they needed to. They had to do that.
I think there's some variable or some things that go into that calculation. But the last time we talked about these guys, because we talked about them in the last podcast, Union had them by 1 point.
Yeah,
126 to 125,
and they both each beat each other once.
Correct. So. Union coming into the last week had a sliver of an advantage over Owasso.
And they beat up on Edmond Memorial too. They beat them pretty badly.
Correct.
But they didn't beat them by 60 or 70 points.
So that it just played into.
So that was not running up the score.
No.
And Coach Montnati knew what he was doing. Yep. They had to win like that to seal that, to get that district.
All good coaches understand what
it's not. Hey.
So
Owasso in that game, and many reasons why. Jax Kerr, Jalen Montnati, Bowden Williams.
Look, they're one of the best teams in 6A.
Cody Lecklider. I could go down. More to come from that team as it goes on.
If Ponca City pulls an upset there, it'll be the upset of the century, because I just find that hard to believe. But Ponca City, if you're listening out there, best of luck.
I'm taking Owasso at home. Owasso.
Yep.
Jinx Enid. That's actually an interesting game. Enid got some size. Jinx got some shooting. I'm going to take Enid.
I'm going to take Enid too.
Yeah, Enid is such an interesting team to me. Their record isn't as good to me as the guys that they have on their team.
Enid. Because I know some of the players on that team, and they're really good.
Yeah, no, I think Trey Davis should eat. I mean, if he doesn't eat big time in that game, something's going on.
Yep.
He should be able to eat. So I like Enid in that game, and that would set up Owasso Enid for like the third, fourth time this year they played. And Owasso just killed them not long, like last week. Anyways, we're not going to go to the second round quite yet.
No,
not yet. We'll get that.
Memorial Stillwater.
Edmond Memorial.
Me too.
And I do like Stillwater. I think they've got some pieces. Trey Tucker is a dual sport kid. He's really athletic. I really do like him a lot. They've got a few more guys.
I just look at Edmond Memorial. Edmond Memorial over the season has gotten stronger, played better, and really started finding their stride mid to late season.
Yeah.
And anybody that has Kieran Padula on the team is tough as nails.
No, I think you're pretty much. I'm almost going to pick Edmond Memorial as long as they're not playing Union, because that's a team that's beaten them a few times this year.
Yep.
And it's just a matchup. Edmond Memorial will take that game. I believe Draylon Nero will do his thing down low. Yep. They've got Brady Handcuff as far as defensively.
Just
he's been great.
I think Stillwater will struggle with him.
I think Edmond Memorial will pull that game out. Hudson Franz. We've talked about why Memorial's been good this year.
Yep.
They're on to the next one. Broken Arrow, Bartlesville, Broken Arrow.
Broken Arrow, Broken Arrow.
No shout to Bartlesville. They lost one of the best kids in the country in David Castillo. So it's like that hurts, but there's once again too much size, too much depth on BA with DJ Howell and the number of guys that they have on that squad. Just too much talent. Diego Ochoa. On and on and on. Davion Wallace.
Really well
or Devon Wallace, I'm sorry. They're too loaded. Next, Choctaw U.S. Grant.
Choctaw, moving on.
They were district champions. Shout out to the Yellow Jackets.
Yes.
Choctaw's played very well
they have.
this year. And
the younger guys have started to step up and really take...
Similar to last year.
Yes.
They were playing really well, but flying under the radar.
Correct.
And they almost caught Edmond North and knocked them off.
Yes.
Lost but last
they're
second.
not under the radar anymore.
They're not under the radar anymore. I don't think they're getting talked about enough as they should.
Correct.
But they are a team that they're very versatile.
Yep.
And when they're I say this with them, when they shoot it well from the outside, you're not beating them. Because they've got so much other stuff that goes on as far as attacking the rim. They've got some size. They've got Jamon Valentine. Camden Hyman when he's hitting shots, and when everybody else is hitting shots from the outside, Millis Steelman, they got big guys. They got a well-mixed, they're just a well-built team. Braden Everidge.
All the guys that you just named, and if I'm guessing correctly, probably will be sitting by the second half.
And I mean that. Choctaw, dude, I'm gonna talk myself into picking Choctaw to get all the way in deep into this thing.
They have the pieces to do it.
So that's why.
If the guys play to their capabilities
and good coaching, Coach Jermaine Simpson, great coach, always has Choctaw ready to go.
Yep.
But what you just said, they got big guys, they got shooters,
they got athletes,
they got
everything.
We didn't even mention Jordan Valentine. They're
come on.
Okay, definitely Choctaw there over U.S. Grant.
Yep.
Next one is an interesting one. Sand Springs Southmore. Interesting.
I'm going to pick Southmore.
And we had last week we talked about Southmore's our team for next year.
Yes.
We're on that Southmore bandwagon. Me and Coach are on that bandwagon.
I'm going to look at Southmore like I looked at Choctaw or what Choctaw ended up doing last year.
Yeah.
Not that I'm not saying they'll necessarily go as far. I hope if they do great in the tournament. But Choctaw flew under the radar. Sophomore has kind of flown under the radar. It's a young group.
Yeah.
They got some upperclassmen. Jesse's, Ledbetter's, obviously he's a senior playing great basketball. No surprise there. But I'm picking Southmore just because I think they're gritty. I think it's, Sand Springs is going to come from the east side and come play at Choctaw. A west side, team, even though this is the east side.
Yeah.
I just give the nod to Southmore. I think from a coaching standpoint, both teams have good coaching staffs.
Yeah.
But I like what I see. The dynamic play and some of the underclassmen are really starting to come on for Southmore. So I like Southmore in that game.
I like Southmore. I'll take Southmore, but Deke Thompson is the thing for Sand Springs that could blow it all up because he is good enough to single-handedly hit 9-10 threes in a game and blow that thing open. So I'll let that caveat be out there that if Deke Thompson has a monster game, anything's up, but I'll take Southmore as well. And then Southmore next year, you already know how me and Coach Barber feel about you guys.
Yep.
We think you're on the way. You're on your way up. Next game, Bixby, Putnam City. I'm taking Bixby.
I'm taking Bixby
Tristan
too.
Driver, Luke Fredrickson, Spencer Holly. They're just.
If I give a top 10 for the year in terms of players down the stretch of the year and statistically and all those things, I mean, Luke Gray's probably at the top of that list just in terms of he's just been destroying people and teams.
Yeah.
But Tristan Driver has been playing outstanding basketball. I mean, obviously. Parker Fredrickson left, and he's taken on that responsibility.
And Luke Fredrickson had been good.
And
been
Luke
good
just signed with a team. He went to Kansas Wesleyan, correct?
Yeah. Shout out to Luke, man.
Yeah, shout out to Luke. congratulations.
Sometimes
Played
just
next
fly
level.
to fly under the radar of your older brother when he's highly touted like that.
Yep.
But Luke has some of his game in him.
Oh, absolutely.
He's
You
a
can
flamethrower from
You
the
can
three.
see the similarities between the
shout
two of them
out
for sure.
and shout out to Parker. He's been getting a lot of minutes
At Duke, played well at Duke the other night.
Played Duke, man.
Yeah, shout out to Parker. So
he's doing his thing out there at Wake
But yeah, I
Forest.
give it to Bixby, and Tristan's been playing outstanding basketball. So shout out to him too.
Okay, and last game in the East, Muskogee Union. It's not even Union, and the answer is Dalen Fuller, Corbin Gunn, Eric Madrid.
Name everybody on the top
Miles
8 or 9.
Flemings, Johnny Chaney Jones, just a lot of guys on their team.
Union is definitely high on my list in that state tournament.
Yep. So that's the first round broken down. What we'll have to do is when we come on next, we come on next week, so that would be before the games even probably happen.
Yes.
So we won't really necessarily know who the next round is. Maybe we'll hit on some of the smaller classes in the next one, because by 4A by then they'll have played 2-3 games.
Correct.
Because they start on Saturday. Well, they'll play 2 games. They start Saturday night, I believe. 4A does.
Yep.
Some of the smaller classes have already started.
Yes.
Class A has already started.
Because you have so many schools.
There's a lot. There's a lot.
So many schools.
And they're spread out. I was looking at a game that I wanted to go to. It was like 4 hours away. I'm like, that's crazy. But hey, it is what it is. I know they got to get to all them small towns. So we're that's 6A. You want to jump into 5A?
Yeah, let's jump into 5A.
Quickly, we'll go to quickly 5A.
Yeah, Carl Albert Noble.
You starting out in the West?
Yep.
Carl Albert, and they're playing very well right now. Carl Albert, preseason pick. I have to say, if we're going off our preseason picks, they are looking right now like a team to beat.
Yep.
And Quincy Hopkins has been playing really well right now. They got a couple guys that play some other sports. Hutch Russell's a baseball kid. He's been really good for them. Jaden Hopkins, younger brother of Quincy. Ryan Reynolds, they got guys. They are just playing really well right now. They ended up winning that district, I believe.
Yes, they did.
So
they pulled it out,
which was tough.
They struggled early, mid, and then really started coming on late in the season. And shout out to the guys there and coaching staff.
They knocked off Crossings, and then Crossings lost to Guthrie, so it all ended up for them to win the district. So so Carl Albert and that one is easy for me to move on.
Yep. John Marshall Elgin.
John Marshall.
Yep.
Shout out to Coach Cujo. Just got his 500th win
just
the other day. Shout out to him, Coach Cujo. John Marshall, I'm taking the Bears right there. And, I just think that they got too much athleticism. Crossings Christian, Southeast. I'm taking Crossings Christian. Southeast got a couple players that I love, and Devon Schaffen. I think he's going to do his thing, and they've got a couple youngsters that can really score. They had a kid, and his name, I'm sorry, but he had 52 points the other night.
Whoa.
They had 63 points, and he had 52 of them. So he must have not missed a shot. And my bad, his name just left my mind. I had it right on the tip of my tongue. I'll have to look it up later. But Crossings Christian is going to win that game. Del City Altus, Del City. Del City, and we talked about it the other day, a Lenny Hatchett team. They're playing really well right now. No one wants to match up with them.
If you play the second-round matchup at Crossings and Del City because they lost the last 2 critical games.
At Del City, by the way.
Del City.
Yeah.
How is that shaping up? Oh, man.
Crossings Christian not getting a home game.
Just to advance into area.
Crossings Christian not getting a home game is nuts.
Well, and when you look at how they played all year, we were saying how dominant, how they played, the system they play in, you could go on and on, the players, everything. It was lining up for them just to be a shoe-in, and here we are because dropping 2 games late and how competitive it is at 5A.
Yeah. So, and I would love. I mean, we didn't go on into the second round, but Del City versus Crossings Christian with the addition of Michael Graham he's a pit bull, Michael Graham. Yeah. He is a great point guard.
Well,
strong.
And you look at him defensively matching up.
Yeah, I want to see that. So that's why we don't want to go on to the next round quite yet.
We'll stick to this.
But I do want to know. Heck, that's going to be tough. Anyway,
lots to talk about in the next week's.
Yes, definitely. Midwest City, Western Heights, Midwest City.
Yep.
Midwest City by far.
Yep.
They're just playing too well.
Moving on.
Carl Sean Young and Roy Henderson, just too much talent right there. I've taken them.
El Reno, South, Santa Fe South. I take El Reno.
El Reno. We talk about it.
Yep.
And one kid that we didn't even mention about them is a freshman that starts for them, Caleb Blackwolf.
Yes.
Killing it right now. Killing it. The other company, if you want to call it, that didn't rank him in that class is obviously hasn't seen El Reno very much because that kid is a player. As far as production-wise, on a nightly basis, he's one of the top freshmen in the state, hands down. Don't even need to go any further into that than that.
MacArthur Shawnee at Guthrie.
Now, that is going to be a good matchup.
Yeah, that's going to be a really good matchup.
That is a good matchup. Shawnee is good. The
Yes.
Shawnee's got some players in them.
Yep.
Young guys, got some older guys that are experienced. MacArthur, young. But they have Brendan Malone, who I've been talking about, the sophomore. A couple guards that are young. Also, pretty much like a sophomore-laden team. TK Taylor's a guy. That one is going to be a tough pick.
That's going to be a very tough pick.
I'm going to take Shawnee in the upset. I am. And I like Lawton Mack. I like Lawton Mack, but I like him next year.
Yeah, I'm with you on that. I'll go with MacArthur just to be
okay. That's the first.
Advocate.
Yeah. So that was the only upset we've had so far. So far in 5As, I took Shawnee. I like Dayton Patton. I think they've got some other guys that can step up and do some things. I mean, I like them. Next year, Lawton Mack, we'll get back together on them. If they keep the same guys, I'll be very high on them in the preseason.
They'll be seated differently too.
Guyman, Guthrie. And Guthrie is no one wants to play Guthrie.
No one wants to play Guthrie.
They'll beat you up.
Senior-laden team, all seniors in the starting lineup.
Beat you up.
Yeah, they're no joke.
Yeah, I think Nate Benford last night had like 14 rebounds. Just they did some things. Tyrone Beatty.
He's tough, man. That dude's got a motor.
Braden Morgan. They just loaded, man.
Let's go to the East.
Okay, let's jump to the East.
Booker T versus McAllister. Booker T.
Booker T, and Booker T was 20-1 on the season. I believe.
Booker T from the word go this year.
Give me Booker T.
We called these guys. We called it early in the season on Booker T. We knew they were going to be here. So
Booker T loaded.
That's tradition there, and those players know what's going on when they come into that program.
Yeah, Jamari Simpson, B.J. Harris. Isaac Sanders. We talked about all their guards multiple times. They're just too much guard power there. I got them heavily over McAllister.
Claremore.
That's an interesting one.
Yeah.
That is an interesting one. I'm going to take the upset in this one and take Claremore. That's another one I'm going to go on the bottom side.
Oh, I think I'll take Sapulpa in this
All right,
one.
there you go. I'm going to have to remember which ones I took.
Yep.
Because we've only taken a few underdogs in 5A.
Yep.
In 5A. There was
5A,
a few in 6A.
True, two.
Bishop Kelly, Will Rogers. I'm going Bishop Kelly.
Me too.
I like that team. That's a team that's flied under the radar all season long. I'm going to go Bishop Kelly in that one.
Me as well.
I know we're running out of time, so we got to kind of go quick here. Edison, Prep, Grove.
Edison.
Tulsa Edison, Jeremiah Johnson.
I'm going with my guy all day long. That dude is special.
Not only that, but they've just been playing really well.
They've been playing
right
really
now.
well as a team. Yeah, I 100% agree with that. But,
I'm going them. Holland Hall prior.
Holland Hall is going to do some damage.
Julius Wilson being back killed it last night. We talked about it. If he's back, it lets Carter Benton go back to where he needs to be. Ryan Levine.
That could be the team
Ethan
right
Tabor.
there.
They are a contender.
Yep.
They are a legit contender in 5A.
Yep.
Can win the whole thing. Go ball. Teddy Owens. Tahlequah, Coweta. That's a tough one. Coweta is good enough to upset a lot of these teams. First of all, in his first round.
Yep.
I'm gonna go Tahlequah.
I'm gonna go Tahlequah.
But I wouldn't be surprised if Coweta wins that. I wouldn't be surprised. Tulsa Memorial, East Central. I'll take Tulsa Memorial. Tulsa Memorial's been a little bit up and down lately.
Yes, they have.
But I definitely
take the experience. That's where I'm going.
Yeah.
With.
Big game from Jaleel Cotton in this. I'm expecting some guys to step up. Fabian Harris.
Plus, the coaching staff's been there. There's expectations.
Coach Allison. I'm taking Tulsa Memorial in that.
Yeah.
Collinsville, Durant, Collinsville. They've been playing as well as anybody in there. When you have a legitimate big on your team that can do it all, pass, shoot, post up game, rebound, I just like that. Sets the screens to get his shooters open. I like that team. I like that team to go pretty far too. So that's our 5A and 6A first round. We'll look at it. If we come back next week and we do it on a Wednesday, these games won't have happened yet because they won't happen until Thursday.
Correct.
So we maybe can talk about 4A or something like that next week.
I think we get into 4A next week. We'll take a little
look in the playoffs and see. Maybe we'll look at 4A, 3A because they'll have already played at least 1 or 2 games. Probably 2 games by that point. And then we'll have to recap these the following week.
See what we do.
Because this is Thursday, Friday, right? And 5A. Yep. So all the 6A, 5A are Thursday, Fridays.
Correct.
And then let's see, Friday, and then they got some games on Saturday as well.
Yeah, they got to get some games on Saturday.
Area. So let's see.
Are they the first round area on Saturday?
All games, Friday, game 1.
While you're looking that up, I want to give a shout out to Nate Logan at Nate Logan Elite Basketball, training out of Destiny Christian High School in Del City, Oklahoma. Nate provides affordable group and individual training options every week. Logan Elite Training aims to help players develop their skill sets, basketball IQ, confidence, and ultimately help them become more prepared for their current teams as well as the next level. Logan Elite currently trains some of the best high school and junior high players, including the #1 player in Oklahoma. Visit LoganEliteBasketball.com or message him on Instagram at @NateLogan_Logan Elite for more information on how to get signed up. Again, if you're looking for a trainer in the Oklahoma City area, Nate Logan certainly is a high-level trainer, and he's got some really good guys in his stable. So look him up. If you have any questions on Nate, reach out to Nate on social media, or you can reach out to myself either way, and I'll get you connected. But shout out to Nate. Nate does a great job along with many other trainers. But, you need a trainer. If you need a trainer, Nate's a guy that is certainly high on my list.
No, and I think that's absolutely, and we know, big shout out to Nate for jumping in early, and it looks like we'll be adding a new sponsor, maybe possibly by our next episode. So that'd be nice, and we'll announce that when we get there. Looking forward to a lot of games that are about to end.
This is exciting. I literally am having a hard time kind of sitting still with thinking about all the games that are coming up. There's just going to be so many choices, but I would just say, we gave you guys some of those teams that are going to be tight matchups.
Yep.
Get out there and watch it. There's nothing better than high school basketball. I don't care. I don't care where you go. High school basketball at this level, this is the pinnacle of sports, in my opinion, because it doesn't get any more exciting than when your son or daughter is out there playing in high school. It's chasing a gold ball is something that you do with your friends.
Yeah.
In a lot of cases. I know it's evolving and kids moving around, but all in all, even when the kids move around, they've played with each other and made friendships with a lot of these kids during summer and spring, played against them, gotten to know them. So these kids are, when you're competing for a state championship, which is only in school sports, it's special. Something that create memories. And
that's what it's all about.
It's what it's about. And it's not, there's no money involved.
Nah. This is the road to the state. This is what every kid and every basketball player dreams about.
Yeah,
this is with the bright lights on. They want to get, if they're small school, they want to get to the big house.
Yep.
If they're a big school, they want to get to Lloyd Noble Center and hoist up that gold ball, because that's one thing that can never be taken away from you for your entire life.
Yeah.
Your picture, that gold ball will be in that school's auditorium or gym for the existence. So it's something that you just live with. I never was able to win a ring or anything like that, in high school or anything like that. But I can only imagine, since covering it all and doing the scouting for so long and doing, the media stuff now, like I've seen enough teams win, and to see the look on their faces and stuff, it's priceless, man. Yeah. And I can only imagine winning one and hoisting that trophy up. So we know this is what it's all about. We're looking forward to covering it. This was 5A and 6A's first round. Yep. We'll get back to 5A and 6A as they move on. Next week we'll try to go, maybe we'll do 2A, 3A, 4A, because at that point they'll be a little further in. Maybe we'll do a little breakdown of those teams in the playoffs.
Yeah, that's going to be fun as well, because there's a lot of really good teams there that deserve to be talked about and players that need to be mentioned.
Yep.
So.
And before we go, please don't forget to like, follow, comment, subscribe to all of our social medias. Give our YouTube channel a follow. follow. We know our Apple and Spotify are blowing up.
Yep.
We thousands and thousands of listeners. We need to get our YouTube up there.
So I would say this too is those that are looking for wanting a tax write-off or certainly we need the sponsorships too, because this isn't it costs money to do this.
Yeah.
And we're not doing this to get rich. We're doing this to continue doing the podcast. So if anybody out there is listening that $500, whatever, that goes a long way to help us continue doing what we're doing to try to help these young men get noticed and recognized and hopefully get to the next level.
Yeah, if you're interested in a sponsorship, just reach out to me or Coach, and we'll get you set up on this great podcast.
And if you want to do a podcast, Jackson Zerbe's obviously owns this studio, does a great job. He's behind the scenes, behind the camera over here. And this podcast and what he does helps us get to where do what we do and makes it easy for Chris and I to sit here and talk to you guys for an hour and a half every week. So shout out to the Studio 7725. It's a fantastic studio.
Yep. And then the last thing I'd say is stay tuned to okieball.net because there will be some new rankings coming soon. Ooh. In all classes. We'll be talking about that as it happens.
Excited.
Appreciate you, Oklahoma. We're out. Peace.
Out.